And here we are live on Facebook. Not now, we are soon. Let's go back to our page. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. The Novi Public Library's virtual author visit. I think I change the title every week. It's Novi Library's virtual author visit is what it is this week. All right. Appreciate you being here, everyone. For those of you who are joining us through Zoom and those of you who are watching from Facebook Live, thank you. I'd like to thank our guests, Amanda, we have you, and Jason, husband and wife team. You're both here. The Ridgeways are here, phenomenal
Yes.
authors with great book out, very inspiring. And I'd like to say welcome to the both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Glad to
Absolutely,
be here.
for sure. We have quite a bit to cover here because I'm really impressed. And so I know people want to know. First, we're going to talk about your book, Life After. So that title right alone is really intriguing, making you want to know, okay, so what is the life after? What are we talking about here? I think I want to first ask you, what made you even decide to become authors and participate? This is a contributing authors to a book with, you have a number of people talking about their experiences. What made you decide to do this?
Well, we had a family member who wanted to get out there. They're actually, the Lord gave them a platform. They wanted to do something new, kind of like a broadcasting type situation, but they wanted to kind of channel with authors, and they were inspired to do an anthology about life experiences. And we just so happened to be somebody that was placed on their mind. So they offered it to us, and ironically, we just did a show, and she had me in her mind to do something on there, and my wife heard it, and from there on, it's it opened up a good relationship between us all, and it was somebody that knew me while I was in the womb, so so a
Okay.
long time
Way
ago,
back when, huh?
right, way back when. So for them to contact and I was on their mind was awesome. And then from that point on, from that first initial invite, we became closer, and even I got introduced my wife to her, and it was great. So.
That was great.
That was how we
And then,
became part of the project. But we both have been writing some individual projects on our own, and done some articles and some things, but didn't officially publish. So this was our opportunity to sort of broaden our audience and reach some people with the message. And it was something that really resonated with us, the title Life After, and just the concept of all of these experiences told from a different vantage point. And these are things that many people can relate to. So it was definitely compelling for us to participate.
nice. I think I want to rearrange my thoughts on how I was going to ask questions. Let's jump in first and talk about what is the life after for each of you, so people can kind of know how to follow along with what your story is like. Either of you can start.
Okay. So my chapter in the Life After anthology is on miscarriage and pregnancy loss.
Mhm.
So let me backtrack just a little. I'll say that Life After, again, it sort of recaps the experiences, the trials, and various things that we all go through in life. The book really comprises something for everyone because we've all been through a lot of the situations. And this has really been an opportunity to join in with a wonderful group of authors who all share their perspective on things like abuse, barrenness. Mine is on miscarriage and pregnancy loss. Another author shares on overcoming cancer,
Mm.
um, just a variety of experience, even life after retirement. So it's a full gamut of topics covered. And so in the chapter, I share about personal life experience. It was something that I went through myself, and it was helpful to me to be able to open up and share. And there are so many women and families and people, some of our friends that have experienced and been touched by miscarriage and pregnancy loss. It's not something that typically are open and readily share about, but I found for myself that it helped to be able to talk about it, to write about it, to express and share my experience, and knowing that others could relate, and that the information that I share and just opening up about how the experience affected me could be helpful to others. And I wish that someone had done that for me, as I went through my experience. So that was what compelled me to write about miscarriage and pregnancy loss in the anthology. And
I love
Jason,
that, Amanda, because you are so true. Many people have been touched by that, and many feel guilty or just not wanting to talk about it at all. So to hear someone else's story that they can relate to is very powerful. I respect that.
yes. And even
But
from a different perspective, just looking at it from the aspect of the husband and, how that interaction went, or, those that were around us. So just some things to share. And it also kind of provided an opportunity for me to get that voice out there and start to let women know that it's okay to discuss those seemingly taboo topics and to share on it.
absolutely. We're going to bounce back and forth. I want people to hear from you, Jason, about what your portion of the book is about.
So my portion is about life after unforgiveness.
Mm,
How when I began to forgive people in my life for things that they have done, or maybe even they didn't even know they did. But I just noticed that there was a bondage there. Any little thing happened that made me feel a certain way. I somehow kind of felt a certain way about a person, even though they might not even cared or even knew about anything, though. But when I began to let go of those things. Like even I remember I was in traffic one day, and me and my friend were going to a birthday party, and somebody cut us off, and then here I go. I'm like, and I start chasing this person. I'm like, what
oh
am I
my
gonna
goodness,
do?
you what?
What am
Wait,
I gonna do when I catch this person? What am I bash him, or what am I gonna do? So I'm like, Lord,
Jason, I
help.
knew you didn't say you started chasing them, right? I
Right.
misunderstood.
I'm like, I'm running, I'm trying to get them. And they probably just tried to get over, nothing to do with anything. They got kids in the car. I got my friend in the car, putting everybody in jeopardy. And I thought about all the times in my life, like all the people in my life. Am I holding on to something for no reason? And why is that hold so strong? So I began to talk to other people who might have had a friend that did something to a friend. So not even doing anything to them, but now they don't like that person. I'm like, wow, that's so strong to have a hate or something against somebody that never did nothing to you. But how strong is that feeling? So I'm like, okay, as strong as that feeling is, imagine the relief of living with unforgiveness. Like you forgive everybody. Like you immediately you're able to forgive people of things right away, and how of a freedom it gives you when somebody does something to be able to let something go, and then kind of you know have a different type of relationship with them. So it wasn't a hard thing, but like potty training is something you have to do. You got to learn to forgive people, even at a job, or anything can happen. Mistakes happen, but I'm like, you know what? If I can teach anybody anything, to teach them how to forgive people is something. And as soon as I began to do that, it's just all doors are open, favor happened, relationships came that I knew nothing about.
Mm.
It just lifted up so much of a burden, and but gave me favor like wherever I went, just to have that. You know what? I'm gonna forgive people of what they did, because a lot of times they don't know they did anything wrong. And then who am I? Like I'm not mistake free. So I just wanted to share that with the world when I had opportunity. So that's why I was so excited to share that in the book.
I love that. And what gave you the inspiration or motivation to think, hey, I need to start forgiving? What encouraged you to do that?
Just that when all of a sudden that person cut us off, and it just like something clicked. I'm not sure. I don't know. I think they say sometimes you're two people, but I'm always been a happy jolly person. But if somebody that just cut me off in there, and me to just go kind of like I call it flip mode, or I'm not what you call it, like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Mr.
Just
Hyde,
all of
uh-huh.
a sudden, it's just a new person. Even my friend was like, "Man, that's not even you, Jason." And then I think he said, "Well, what are you going to do when you catch them?" And I thought about it. I'm like, nothing. Blow
Nothing.
my horn.
Wave.
But to put us all in jeopardy. That person could all of a sudden hit the brake out, bash into him. They had a little kid in the
Mhm.
car. It could have been crazy. all
Yeah.
because of something just that split. But it woke me up to some things that I didn't even know self-consciously I was harboring. Because like I said, I had unforgiveness for people that I didn't even know, because they did something to a friend of mine. So even parents and siblings that might have did something. I might have had some animosity or something that I might have let go of, but it still was in my background. Even, like I said, parents don't always do the right thing. So it was some things right there. I had to go and make right with with people, and not even knowing that I had to do it, but it made such a difference by when you did it. That's why I didn't want to let that point on. I didn't want to let the world deal with what I had to deal with that quickly, because it hurt me, but it gave me freedom from bondage just by letting go of things, especially unforgiveness, because that was a really hard one to kick.
Hmm. And listening to you tell the story is really inspiring. But actually writing it, what did you have any writer's block, or how did you master the task of actually putting thoughts to paper? Both of
I'm
you.
actually like I have three older brothers, and my dad wasn't really always there, so I had a lot of content from years of
Uh-huh.
disappointments and things happening to me, and friendships, and moving, and a lot of other things. I had more than enough content. It just kind of putting into perspective how you can use that in your everyday life. So all I really had to do was to structure it. If you're married, if you're not married, if you want to be a friend, if you're working, if you looking to advance certain things, how that forgiveness part makes such a difference, and just go over different testimonies that I've been through just by having that. And we may not even notice, but we have an audience that's always looking at us, and they see that when you forgive people and when you're nice and all that stuff, and you may not even think it means anything. But I remember one time I was leaving a job, and this person said, "Before you leave, I want to let you know I've been watching you for 2 years."
Mm,
And
mm,
he's like, "You always kept it consistent. I just want to let you know." I'm like, "Wow." I never even thought this person even knew me like that, but
right.
he's been watching, because when you say something, the person want to make sure you're a person of your word, and I was able
Hmm.
to keep that consistency, and it just made so much. And that one thing about forgiveness and unforgiveness, getting that right, made such a difference in my life.
Hmm. Amanda, for you, what were there any challenging areas of writing your segment of the book? Well, I'm sure all of it was a challenge, but any that stand out in particular?
Well, again, having a miscarriage or pregnancy loss in general is a very challenging situation.
Sure.
It can be physically painful, emotionally painful, and it just touches every area of your life while you're experiencing it. But I think the biggest challenge for me was after having gone through that and come to a point where I was able to deal with and get past the physical pain and even somewhat past the emotional pain, to have to sort of rethink through and mentally relive the experience
Mm.
in order to be able to tell and not skip over some of the points that could be really meaningful to someone else going through that type of experience. So that
Hmm.
was some of the more challenging parts for me.
So, in your writing, did you create an outline, or did you just let the story tell itself? How do you actually go about the writing portion for for those who are listening, thinking, I have a story that I'd like to tell as an author? Outline, no outline, or what's really your process for writing? Give us the secret.
So for me personally, I guess I sort of follow a rough outline,
Okay.
where I sort of organize my thoughts, and I bullet point the topics that I want to cover,
Hmm.
and I don't strictly detail every point, but I sort of, once I have that rough outline of the topics that I want to cover, I just make sure that they line up sequentially and make sense in an order that keeps the audience's attention, but flows in a way that they can follow along and make sense of the story. So I like to have it flow in a way that anyone reading it can follow along and engage with the story and really connect
Hmm.
with the emotions and the experience as it's being told.
For sure.
For me, I don't know. It's kind of crazy, but I play like I'm leaving like a last will and testament to somebody, and this is the topic I want them to. I'm really trying to convey, and I'll push record on my phone, and I'll say, "Hey, look," and then I'll go into everything I know about that topic, and then after I'm finished, I have the recording of it. So then when I'll sit there after when I'm ready to where I can type it or write it down, I'll push play, and then as it's playing, I'll go ahead and write, and then I'll stop, and then something else will come in my mind, and then when I'm finished with that, I'll keep pushing play, and by the time all that's done, I got enough to write a couple books, and then just go ahead and
Yes.
pick the good stuff out of it, the nuggets and everything, and just let it go like that. But it's just something I want to leave in case somebody ever Googles me or my child, like, what was my dad like, or what is he thinking about this topic? Just leaving that there, because a lot of times, like, tomorrow's not promised. We found out not too long ago when I got diagnosed with we'll talk about that later. But anyway,
Oh, what? What?
I
You're gonna
got
tease and leave us
diagnosed.
hanging? What?
Right, I got diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer not too long
Oh
ago,
my.
and
Well, then now
right
you know we're
before
gonna have you back for sure, right?
that's fine,
Yes.
and then
Okay.
before that it was a stroke. I
Oh
had
wow.
while I was
Okay.
working. So like
Mm.
tomorrow's not promised. So the last thing I want to do, if something's in my mind to share with somebody, need to leave anything out. So I want to get everything in, and even if I just leave that recording, I know I can't take my phone with me, but they could push play and hear what Daddy said. So
Oh,
or
I
my
love that.
wife or anybody, if anything ever happens to me, it's on recording. So that's what helped me out.
And that's a great
Hmm.
tip too to share with anyone who would like to write and maybe doesn't know where to start. I've used it myself as well, and it's very helpful because a lot of people feel like they have something value to say or to contribute, but they don't know where to start or how to get it out. But if you can have a conversation with someone, you can start writing your book. It's as simple as that. It's just being able to express those ideas and get them to a point. And once you hear them, sometimes that's the trigger, is you hearing your idea back to you, and you're able to then take that and write and really turn it into a masterpiece. And then
Hmm.
there, all you have to do is edit.
Right.
Yeah. What we'll talk about. You know what? You have the book. I don't know if you held it up yet or not. For those who just tuned in, we're talking about the book Life After. We're talking to Jason and Amanda Ridgeway, co-authors, contributing authors to this great book about some deep stories. Just the two of yours, and there are about 5 other stories. Is that right?
There's
More,
oh,
way more
there's about
about.
18 of us.
Oh, excuse me, way
Yes.
more than
We're
five.
the only married couple, and I'm the only male.
Yes.
You're the only
I'm the
male.
only
Look at
male.
here.
We're the only married couple, right, in this book, right?
I love it. Okay, so we talked about the details of your story, but then you're also working with publishers. So what are the demands there?
I thought it was great seeing how they come together and formulate a plan to get your material to the masses, the people outside of your warm market. Because a lot of times your warm market is cold now because you went through them for all these years for this and that. But
Hmm.
they came up with a plan on how to get your information out to people who's going to receive and really benefit the information that you're putting out there, and then you can just glean from them. Okay, now this is how I'm going to market my information to other people who are going to really utilize it. So to me, I think it's just more of an investment because you see how they structure everything, we're their business, and then you can use that information and structure it yourself so you're not always coming out of your pocket. Or if you have it to where you want to go ahead and have them to go ahead and take care of the marketing and advertising, that's fine. But a lot of times when you have one piece, there's other pieces you can make off of that because there's other questions or other areas. Maybe a fan or somebody who reads your book might have questions about where you can do a part 2 or a journal or a master class or maybe even gathering or even meet a new group of people because they've been through that, but they didn't have an avenue or a channel to express those feelings. Now they do. So
Okay, I get that. Any criticisms or discouragements along the way, and if so, how were those handled?
I would say it was just along with what Jason said, it was an interesting experience too. One of the things that was great about being part of an anthology was that you got to work with and see how someone else would go about the sort of the project management piece of things, where you're providing the content, the material, and someone else is helping you put it together and get it out there. And there were some things that we learned, both to do and probably that we wouldn't do again during the process. But it was great just being a part of a collaboration. And it also brought to mind some things that, for future projects that we would like to pursue, we thought of some ways that we would like to structure things so that it would be in favor of the contributing authors and make that more appealing. So that, because many times, and depending on what the topic of the book is, it may be something that's difficult for your authors to discuss or to write about. So you want to give them a reason. You want them to understand the value of their contribution. And that's something that's very important that stood out during the process. Our topics were pretty serious topics, but also pretty common topics that we all in some way deal with. So, we felt the sense of importance and urgency to share on those, but that was something that really kind of stood out is, how can we, or how can a publisher make a deal enticing? How can they encourage you to want to hit those deadlines to get your book out on time and to get your edits done, or to do everything that's necessary in order to get that book to the masses in a reasonable time, in a quality manner? That's something that was very important too. It's just, being mindful of the quality. And we were very fortunate with this book that it was a great quality production. It's the content from all of the authors was great. I mean, it could be life changing depending on the situation that you're going through and that you're facing. So just things like that stood out. Quality. How do we convey the value that's present, and how do we share that with those we're trying to reach? So overall, we had a great experience during this time. We've had some other experiences as we explored that were not as great for various
I was going to ask about that. Any writer's block or things like that? You kind of touched on some things like that.
Well,
tell me more.
I think that's one of the challenges that you deal with too when you're doing a work with a group of people. Sometimes it's difficult to get everyone on the same page, and it is difficult to get everyone to adhere with busy schedules to timelines, and to get things out and to get that excitement going, and to also to share, because the marketing piece is something that's new. We had a little bit of an advantage because Jason had done quite a bit of research on his own. He's written a lot of works and gone about publishing some of them. He'd published some audio books previously. But in looking at that, we kind of knew some of the pitfalls to sort of avoid and what to look for as we were moving forward with becoming published.
So I'm sorry, one more thing. This the criticism part. That's how I came up with audiobooks, because somebody said, well, what if somebody can't see? Or I actually used to work with the hearing impaired before I moved in Michigan, but they really could use this type of content. I'm like, you know what? It would be great to learn how to make an audio out of this book, because I want to give them my MP3 of how I wrote my information. But I really looked into how authors, because a lot of times that's a whole another demographic that they can't reach, maybe the blind or the disabled or those who can't read, to get their information out there to libraries and other places. But somebody said, well, if that was one of the criticisms, somebody had said this should be an audio book so other people can really listen to it, because I don't have time to listen to it. But if I can hear it, when I'm driving, I can hear it. You need to have something like that. So that's when I looked into working with Audible and Amazon and other places to go ahead and put some of the works that I was working on in an audio form, and also how expensive it can be if
Yes.
you pay an author, but I
Mhm.
found other means. So I've been helping other authors help to get that where it doesn't cost them as much, where it can be economical and they can get their information out to the masses. And also YouTube Shorts and everything out is out there right now as well, so they can put their information on stories and reels and TikTok and other places without them paying for a narrator. So that's something that the Lord was blessing me able to do it. And it all came from criticism. Somebody tell me this should be on an audio book. You shouldn't just be writing this. So
Criticism helps us to grow,
right,
right?
right.
For sure. You kind of already answered my next question in part, I think. What was some of the best advice you were given? Was it to convert some of your writings into audio or other things?
So my best
Either
advice
both.
actually came from my wife to do something every day, and then that a little step is better than no step, but also it's a long journey. So let's say one day you don't get no writing done. Don't let that stop you or try to double it. Next day, try again. Like every day, do something to complete that project or whatever you're working on, and eventually it'll be done. So that's how I was able to get a lot of works done before. She just put it in my mind to every day do something. If it's 5 minutes, if it's 10 minutes, if it's 20 minutes, if it's 2 minutes, and then that's how you can get a project done, and that's how you can beat procrastination. So my wife is the person that helped me, so she probably can answer that a little better.
Who's the procrastinator? I'm not trying to start anything at all.
I think we all procrastinate a bit at times, but that's one of the things I think is very important for us. And I have to often remind myself because I am, not only do I have a full time job with a company, but I'm a mother, wife, I homeschool my children. And
Wow.
it's a very busy and sometimes challenging schedule. And it's easy to be hard on ourselves sometimes when we have a lot of things to get accomplished in a short amount of time. But one of the best pieces of advice that I can share for those who are busy and who still have something to say and something to contribute and something that'll help somebody else, or even if it's just something that you want to get out and share, don't confuse a little progress with no progress. Because
Absolutely. Oh, say
that
that again.
little
That's wonderful.
yes, that
Mhm.
little bit, just like my husband said, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 15 minutes, you might have 30 minutes one day. And before you know it, by the end of the week, you spend a couple hours on it, or even if it's not even the same week, but little by little, that progress will build. And also, as you look back on what you're doing, you may not have gotten as much accomplished as you'd have liked, but you can see, you can look back on that and it'll inspire you and trigger new ideas as you're going forward. And it'll also give time for your work to be freshened as you go. Because even as you're working on something, you're constantly having new experiences that add to and enhance what you've already gone through and what you're already sharing.
I love this. I could talk all day, but we can't talk all day. But I just love it. Okay, let's show the book again. I'm going to make sure we keep showing the book. It's called Life After. Hold it up. I'll make sure it's clear in the. Yes, I love that. And I think I want to throw out there too, because you said 18 other authors are in this book. Have the two of you thought about even the exact same stories that you have, just putting that out just as a husband and wife? Because what you've gone through, Amanda, with miscarriages and everything, and then what you've gone through, Jason, with unforgiveness, could certainly pair into just one book by itself. Have you
Right.
thought about something along
So
that route?
I
Or
have,
am I throwing it out there too? You can put me on
yes,
as a.
yes, I have, and I'm working on it. And then there was a couple of platforms I had it on, and I just couldn't see how the percentage of revenue that it would bring in. So that say the book cost $10, I made like $1.25, and they made
Mhm.
$8.75. I just can't see it. And then even the audio books. So I had audio books that were for a couple of hours. They sold for about $20, and I got like $3.25. So I'm like, there's no, I got to find
Mhm.
other opportunities. So that's why we want to do things different in our way. We also have these books available. Well, if anybody wants to reach out, they'll be able to get the information. But yes, I have, and we will. We want to get that out to where we're the whole story of what we read we
Absolutely.
have. Yes.
Yeah, those are actually, I have two other works that are in progress at the time. And, as my husband shared just this past year, he had a serious health crisis and diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, he's doing really well now, and
Very good.
it's come a long
Very
way.
good.
But I'd like to expand on the chapter that I shared, because I know there's so much more impact that can be done to help people who are in those situations, or even people who are close to someone who's experienced that and just doesn't even know what to say. Because we've all been, experienced an awkward moment, or, just times when we wanted to be a help and weren't able to share. So there's that. And then there's some other inspirational, uplifting thoughts that I'd like to share in another piece that I'm working on. So looking to share those in the very near future as individual works outside of the anthology. And we have quite a few topics that we've discussed as to be able to share as a husband and wife team. So that's something that we're looking to be able to share moving forward as well.
I love that. I encourage you to move on. You're very inspiring, a beautiful couple. Your stories are very inspirational. So I appreciate it. If you have any questions, I am looking on Facebook, and also if you're here on Zoom, you can type it in the chat if you have a question, or you can actually open up your microphone and pose the question now to our guests. Once again, the book is Life After. We're talking to Jason and Amanda Ridgeway. They are the authors. If you have any questions, feel free to type them, or you can ask them out loud. And while we're waiting on that, can you tell people how they can get your book?
Yes, so you can reach us on Facebook directly. Amanda Polk Ridgeway, Jason Ridgeway. We are
Amanda. Let's make sure it's Amanda Polk, P-O-L-K Ridgeway.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
And want to make sure it's all clear. They'll be looking, and then they'll email me and ask me, what did she say?
Yes. Thank you for clarifying that. Yes, and we have this. If you find me on Facebook, you'll see references to the Life After book, and it's available. We are happy to ship autographed copies out to you directly.
Yes.
Great.
Definitely once, like I said, I'd recommend it. And just, there's topics for everyone. Just to share a few more, there's a chapter on stress and pain in the workplace.
I mean, everything is covered there, isn't it?
Yes,
right.
Yes.
Yes, it's inspiring.
Just about change in general, overcoming giants, grief, just anything that you would experience. There's someone who shared a bit on that topic. And like I said, it's really helpful. We are able to overcome by sharing and pulling strength from our testimonies. And this is really a source of some great encouragement and some powerful testimonies that I'd highly recommend reading this. Even if I personally didn't share in this, I was blessed by the testimonies and the accounts that were shared in the book. So again, we have copies available. It is also available on Amazon, but we'd like to get you an autographed copy direct, and be able to stay in touch with you as our future works come out as well.
Absolutely.
If you're an author, you need assistance, or you want to put some information out as well. Since we are on Facebook, and we actually love the Novi library as well. We actually had an actual signing there at one particular point. So we love the library and staff and everybody else. You can reach out to us on Facebook as well. We'd be more happy to share with you, just because you are a part of this particular platform.
Very good. It's been my absolute delight to have both of you here with us sharing. Let's see. Okay, I see something in here that says a huge part of life is reflection and hindsight. Sorry. Let me go back to the chat. It just totally disappeared. A huge part of life is reflection and hindsight. What would you do differently in writing your personal stories? Would you be more or less inclusive when discussing the intimate details of your lives? Oh, good question.
So I would share a little bit more. I didn't at first, when we had our assignments, we only could write so many to squeeze everybody in. But I would even put my whole book out sooner, than what I did. I waited like months and months before I came up with the whole part of my particular uh, category or topic.
Yeah.
Because I saw like as soon as I put it out and people were reading that were even associated with the other authors, how they reached out to me about how my chapter had impacted their lives and asked me other questions. So that's what I would have done if I had to do it over. I would come out maybe around the same time as this book came out. I would have had my whole topic of my whole book, the life after forgiveness, ready and ready to publish and get out in the hands of those who need assistance with that topic.
For sure. Thank you for that question. Anyone else before we want to rush you along? Any other questions? You're more than welcome. They have all night. Right? No, you don't.
I did share very candidly in the book, and I don't regret it because, like I said, I do think that a lot of people have a wide range of experiences dealing with the topic that I shared on. And sometimes we just need someone to be open and honest and tell us like it is and admit that they've experienced it too. It sort of neutralizes, takes the tension out of and diffuses the situation that someone's going through. So I think it's important to share.
Continue, I'm sorry.
I was just saying, I think it's really important to just be candid and to share openly, and being willing to be vulnerable is helpful in a lot of instances.
Absolutely. Well, here's a challenging question someone asked. Let's see if you can do it. It says, how would you sum up your individual stories in a tagline or one sentence?
I got it.
Oh my goodness, what? Okay,
so
let's hear
I would say, forgive others because tomorrow's not promised.
Oh, I like that.
And I would say, even if the worst thing that can happen does happen, it's going to be okay. There is life after.
Oh, that was good. I love it. That was excellent, Very good. I think that's good. We're going to wrap it up right there because I think both of your taglines were a good way to end our program for the evening. I want to thank the both of you so much. Hold the book one more time. It's called Life After. Hold up one more time.
Life after.
There we go. Everyone can see it. We want to end on that note. Thank you so much. I wish you all of the best. Excellent couple, excellent presentation. And thank you all for attending in both platforms. And I hope you all have a great night. Thank you so much.
Great night. Thank you.
Okay. Good night.
Good night.